Happy Tuesday, folks, and welcome back to #AskGSM, episode 596 here today for Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. We're back on Tuesdays. If you haven't already checked it out, check out last week's episode 595, the post-WrestleMania episode. I am still very much in a state of flux right now as far as catching up on shit and being behind, being tired, physically in pain. I came back from WrestleMania a week ago. We got back from Mania a week ago in Vegas. And usually it's like going into Mania, it's busy. Mania itself is hectic. And then coming out of WrestleMania for like several weeks. I'm trying to minimize that this year. And hopefully, I'm hoping to be all done, caught up on shit within the next week, maybe two max. But definitely right now, I still have a lot to catch up on. So, bit of a programming note before we get forward here, not only as far as #AskGSM, but like last week, we couldn't do the show on a Tuesday because I was flying back on Tuesday. So, we're back on Tuesdays consistently going forward. We'll get back into how you can send in questions in a moment. But as far as other content coming here to the channel, I did want to put up my review of the WrestleMania 9 Becoming a Spectacle documentary. Before Mania, during WrestleMania week, just didn't have a chance to because I hadn't finished the documentary yet. I did already finish it. I did finish it like a few days ago. It was great. So that review should be up here on the channel shortly, like whether it be tomorrow or Thursday. I wanted it up yesterday or today, but like I said, there's just still so much fucking shit to do. So it should be up at some point, probably tomorrow or Thursday. I also have to put up my reviews of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes from 2 weeks ago, last week. This week I'll catch up on probably this weekend. I caught up on Dark Side of the Ring from 2 weeks ago, the Tony Atlas episode. We watched it last night, actually. Thought it was actually pretty good, and I enjoyed it for what it was. So that episode review should be up here in the channel, again, within the next few days. The Billy Graham episode I've yet to watch, but when I do watch it, it should be reviewed soon here on the channel. And then this week's, which I don't remember what that's on, will be up at some point within the next week. WrestleRant Ranks, which is typically on Mondays. I did not have a new episode up yesterday. Last week's went up on Friday. We already filmed that weeks ago, but I just didn't have a chance to even put it up. Like, that's how little time I've had to even put that up. I put that up on Friday, which was a great episode. Got a lot of great feedback on it. Myself and Alexis ranking all the WrestleMania logos. We were still in the WrestleMania mood. I mean, that was before Mania even happened. It was when we filmed it, but I put it up after Mania. Ranking all the Mania logos on WrestleRant Ranks. That was from last Friday, so check that out when you get a chance. This week's WrestleRant Ranks, I will do one, again, like I said, at some point. I do not know when it will be up. I do not know what it will be on, but it should be up at some point. So all of that to say, please bear with me, and all that content will be up at some point. And at some point in the next couple of weeks, we will be back to our regularly, scheduled programming as far as what days certain stuff goes up and whatnot. So as we get going here, thank you so much for anyone watching live, sending in comments and questions as we get going. I'll look at the chat in a second. But if you want to send in a question in the chat for me to be answering on the air, you can do so in the chat box here in the video. If you also want to send in a question to be answered on future editions of #AskGSM, you can do so by tweeting me onto the Twitter machine or on X, whatever you want to call it, at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Tuesday nights, or rather Monday nights. I keep forgetting that we're on Tuesdays now for the show, and it's been fucking 4 months. Or on the wall itself. Last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Also, before we get going here, do want to shout out our channel members and whatnot. Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, of course. Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee. DJ Swerve1. He's on the Instagram at Swerve1, at SwerveWON1. Daniel Malcolm, who sent a very nice message yesterday on the Twitter machine. Daniel, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. You can find him on the Twitter machine at I'm Quarter. Letter I, letter M, the word quarter. RJ Marceau, of course, at RJ_Marceau, who's actually in Disney World right now. We've been texting back and forth the last couple of days. He's enjoying himself on a vacation in Disney. He went to Epcot. He was at Hollywood Studios earlier today. He's going to Magic Kingdom, I think soon, if not already. So, Mr. Marceau, if you're listening to this, hope you're enjoying your vacation. I'll catch up with you on the show. I think this Thursday. I think he'll be back by tomorrow, and hopefully he'll be on the show on Thursday to discuss his Disney adventures. John Ritland as well. Check him out on YouTube. Real Honesty with John Ritland. Easier for me to say. Check out his channel. He does great work. Along with Richie, Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube as well. So, If you would like to consider becoming a channel member and unlocking the WrestleRant All Access Pass, only $5 a month. You can get ad-free early videos before everyone else. I have not been able to do it the last couple days, the last week, just because I said I've been incredibly fucking busy. But when we get back on track, you do get ad-free and early access to certain videos here on the channel. You get top billing here on hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. So if you have a question to be answered here on hashtag AskGSM and you're a channel member, regardless of how you send in the question, it will be answered first here on the show. So just a heads up on that. Or a topic you want us to discuss on WrestleRant Radio. You also get, as you're probably learning right now, shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream. Discord access open soon. Badges and emojis and live chats. Members-only live streams, and so much more. So again, please consider becoming a channel member at some point. I don't check the channel memberships every day, so if you became a channel member or become a channel member here on one of the streams, I'll be notified immediately. But I don't get notified of new channel memberships for whatever reason. I have to go back and check it. So if you do sign up for a membership, let me know, and I'll be sure to add your name to the list of shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel. Speaking of live streams, one last note here before we get going. I should be live again, obviously, for WrestleRant Radio on Thursday with Mr. Marceau, breaking down the world of wrestling, Raw on Monday and whatnot. I should be live tomorrow, though, for hashtag AskGSM Season 4, Episode 5. Could be wrong. I might just pre-record it, but there's a pretty good chance I might be live tomorrow recording that episode here on the channel. What time? I'm not sure. So just to keep a heads up on that. That will be hashtag GSM for GM in WWE 2K25 My GM mode. We're still kind of working our way through the new GM mode and how things work over there. I'm not exactly thrilled with the new format, but I might be live with that tomorrow afternoon East Coast time. So just a heads up on that front. Thank you to Johnny and Nathaniel for joining us in the chat before we even got going here. He said Becky Lynch should win the Intercontinental Championship. We'll get into that. Someone asked the question about it, obviously, based on the headline of this video. Johnny said Hangman, Adam Page, and Kyle Fletcher are going to have the match of the week tomorrow. I don't have any doubt about that. I think thinking back to Raw last night, there were some quality matches, but nothing that will likely be on the level of Page and Fletcher on tomorrow's Dynamite for sure. Nathaniel, what's going on? He said, I wonder how long Becky Lynch will be IC champion for if she wins it. We'll talk about that later on. Johnny also said, do you want Royal Rumble and Survivor Series to also be 2 nights? Definitely not. I honestly wasn't even high on the idea of SummerSlam being 2 nights. I think it's just excessive. Honestly, especially with the Royal Rumble, I think the Women's Rumble the last couple of years has been very good. Honestly, even better than the men's at certain points and during certain years. But I think there's going to be a certain stigma of people want to see the men's rumble. That's kind of the main attraction and probably always will be. People may not buy tickets to a women's rumble main event. They might only want to go to the women's or the men's rumble main event. And honestly, the best part about the rumble is that you can have 2 rumble matches and then 2 undercard matches and have that be it. You know what I mean? You don't need a full fucking show of title matches. And we've talked about before how it could work. I'm just not a fan of that personally. And Survivor Series especially. I mean, Survivor Series, whether they do War Games or not, does absolutely not need to be 2 nights. Even as 1 night, it's still uneventful compared to the other Big 4 pay-per-views, even Big 5 if you include Money in the Bank. Survivor Series, at some point, very likely will be 2 nights inside of a stadium. It fucking shouldn't be, but I'm preparing for that possibility. Grunt is here as well. Grunt, what's going on, my man? Thanks for joining. Johnny also asked, who are wrestlers that you want to see on Dark Side of the Ring? You know, I feel like any wrestler that I would have wanted to see featured on the show has already gotten an episode, like the Benoits, the Pillmans. Even now, they're doing, man, I forgot her name, Daphne, who was a more recent case, and she only passed away 4 years ago. They're actually doing an episode on her this season. Muhammad Hassan, I'm not really sure how dark that is, but the story of his fall from grace in WWE was far from his fault. They're doing an episode on him at the very end of this upcoming season 6 of Dark Side of the Ring. So I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, anyone that I would want to see a Dark Side of the Ring on is a more recent case that they probably can't do for another couple more years. I feel like doing an episode on the Brawl Out shit would be very interesting. If they could get the access and the interviews, that would be very fucking interesting. That Velveteen Dream, a total fall from grace has he been. The speaking out stuff in wrestling back in 2020, that killed a lot of careers, specifically the UK indie scene. Yeah, Yeah, so I feel like those are more recent things, but I'm thinking like historically, what else have they not gotten to yet that they should? There's been 6 fucking seasons. If they haven't gotten to it yet, they probably won't, or they might be just scraping the bottom of the barrel. So those are just some ideas. Fernando also joining, saying hello, check, cool for RJ. Fernando, what's going on, my man? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining as always. Nathaniel said, I'm going to watch my Lakers tomorrow. Hopefully we win at least one more game. Good luck to the Lakers. Hopefully they do well. Nathaniel also asked, are you excited for Jey Uso versus Logan Paul? Am I excited for it? Not necessarily. Do I think it's a good idea? I do, actually. I think, and I said as soon as Logan Paul won at WrestleMania, not as soon as he did, but like, my first thought was, is AJ Styles going to AEW? Because like, what the fuck was the point of having him lose to Logan Paul? But then I thought to myself, while I was leaving the building on Sunday when Logan Paul beat AJ, I'm thinking, you know what? Logan Paul must have won, if only so he could challenge Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Because remember, Logan Paul set his sights on that title a couple of months ago. When he first signed to the Raw roster back in like December of last year, early January, he came to Raw. He said he wanted that World Heavyweight Championship. There were reports, there were teases of him against Gunther. And I'm so fucking glad we didn't get that match. As a match, it would have been good. But as a WrestleMania match, Logan Paul and Gunther, absolutely not. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But he never really went back to the World Heavyweight Championship after that. Instead, he set his sights on AJ Styles, and he was inside the chamber. So I guess he kind of was setting his sights in the World Heavyweight Championship at that point. But they never really went back to it until last night. So I think as a match, first of all, it could be good. Honestly, the match could be very basic between Logan Paul and Jey Uso. Logan Paul had a very mid-match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. So what does that tell you? The quality of the match he's probably going to have with Jey Uso. The biggest difference is Jey Uso is so fucking over, and Logan Paul is so over as a heel. I think for the crowd dynamic alone, that should be a fun match. Uso and Paul for Backlash. It's an easy opponent for Jey Uso to beat to retain the title. He's a notable name. He's not like an undercard guy. I like that match a lot. And they don't really have to spend a whole ton of time on the build because Backlash is already next weekend. So honestly, I'm completely on board with that match. Johnny asked, do you miss the traditional Survivor Series elimination match? I do. And my hope is that they're not advertising War Games for Survivor Series this year because they're going to go back to doing typical Survivor Series elimination matches. And listen, I think War Games at Survivor Series has been great, and I love the idea of doing War Games and the fact they brought it back a couple of years ago. The biggest difference, though, is they really only should do War Games when it actually matters. Like, a team should challenge another team to a war. Like, it's like literally like Hell in the Cell. I do not want War Games to have its own pay-per-view at the same time every year. It does add a lot of excitement to Survivor Series, and it was great for like the first year, the second year, the third year. I'm like, okay, we're kind of killing the concept here, especially when they force like a women's War Games for no reason. And the matches are typically very good, but I'd rather they only do War Games when it matters. Like, I hate that WWE and AEW both do it at the same time every year. So, again, like I said, my hope is the fact that they're not advertising Survivor Series this November as War Games gives me hope they're going back to a traditional Survivor Series show. For the first time, I think in a fucking decade. Because as soon as they moved away from the brand supremacy stuff, they immediately went to War Games. They've done War Games from 2022 through 2023. And they did the brand supremacy shit with Raw and SmackDown from 2016 through 2021. That's 6 installments of Survivor Series that were fucking focused on the brand supremacy bullshit. So, in Survivor Series 2015 was awful. Survivor Series 2013 was awful. And those were regular Survivor Series shows with Survivor Series elimination matches. Make those matches matter. Make the show matter without having to rely on War Games every year. That's my take on that. Johnny also asked, who second return to wrestling has been better, Edge or CM Punk? It's a good question. I'm going to go CM Punk. Now, CM Punk obviously had the brawl out shit happen. Edge has also had a very good run overall in the last 5 years. Edge has been around a little bit longer, but Edge has also been hurt, a time or two. He got injured in AEW. He was injured for like a year in WWE when he first came back. But for the most part, he's been around. He's been around a little bit longer than Punk. But I just think what Punk has been doing the fact that both guys are back at all is cool. But like, Punk's string of matches in AEW up until the brawl out shit was fucking great. Like, he was having matches on Rampage, Collision, Dynamite that were excellent. And he's had some really, really great storylines so far in WWE with Rollins, with Drew McIntyre. Some great matches as well at WrestleMania. He got to main event Mania. The Hell in a Cell match with Drew was really good. Their string of matches was good to great. The promos have been very good. And now he's kind of entrenched in the Paul Heyman thing with Rollins and Breaker and shit, I would imagine, when he comes back to TV, hopefully soon. I got to go Punk. And not that Edge hasn't done great work since he's been back, but I just feel like with Edge, I just feel like Punk's just quality of work has overall been better. Like with Edge, he did the Randy Orton feud when he first came back in 2020, which was great to begin with. That Mania match sucked. That Mania match was very boring at 36. And it wasn't just because it had no fans. There were better matches on that show, both nights. The rematch, the greatest match of all time is what they billed it as, was actually very, very good. That was a great match. Not the greatest match of all time, but it was a great match. And then in 2021, that was probably, honestly, the peak of Edge's run so far in the time that he's been back. In 2021, he came back, won the Royal Rumble, headlined WrestleMania, was involved in the World Championship scene in WWE, had a couple of great matches with... He was involved in that great triple threat match at Mania with Roman and Bryan, had that very good match with Roman at Money in the Bank, a string of tremendous matches with Seth Rollins, two of which I was in attendance for at SummerSlam and on SmackDown at MSG a couple of weeks later. That awesome Hell in the Cell match. Edge's 2021 was outstanding. And then going into 2022, he was feuding with the fucking Miz, like who gives a shit. They turned him heel, which kind of felt forced. The Judgment Day, I liked the concept of it. I liked heel Edge and heel Judgment Day, but it didn't really click with the audience, and they quickly turned him back babyface for other reasons as well. Like the match with AJ at Mania was kind of there. I thought it was good, but it could have been better. And then he feuded with Judgment Day for like 6 months, and that didn't really benefit the Judgment Day all that much at all. So, and in AEW, he's had a decent run so far, specifically for the TV matches, but he kind of just feels slow and old at this point. So honestly, personally, I'm going CM Punk. He's also a little bit younger than Edge, so that also helps. But I'm giving CM Punk the edge on that one. Nathaniel said, I don't know if AJ Styles will win a championship before he retires. I don't know either. Depends. Will he leave for AEW or will he stay in WWE? Either way, I mean, if he goes to AEW, like with Edge, where they gave him the TNT title twice, he'll probably win the tag titles. He's been involved in world championship matches. He probably fucking will win a championship if he goes to AEW. In WWE, I'm not convinced. It would be nice to see AJ as like a mid-card champion or especially a world champion one more time because it's been so long. I'm just not super confident that's going to be the case. Nathaniel said, I'm wondering what movie Liv Morgan is starring in. Yeah, so Sean Ross Sapp said, like, his source said that it would make Jaws drop. And honestly, my initial thought, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but I had seen the other day they're actually beginning the filming for Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. I'm thinking, is she in fucking Doomsday? Is she in an Avengers film? And Rollins came close and his roles got cut. And I know Becky Lynch was rumored for like the Eternals post-credit scene. Probably dodged a bullet there because Eternals sucked. So will Liv Morgan become the first active WWE superstar in a Marvel film? Because Batista's been in one, obviously, but Batista was kind of outside. He was kind of gone from WWE when he was in those movies. I don't think he would. I don't think she will be in Doomsday. I think because he also said, temper your expectations. He said in the separate post later on. So it probably will be a big movie. Like, I doubt it's going to be like a fucking lower level indie horror film like what Mercedes Moné did or like Karrion Kross was in a film recently. I doubt it's anything big that he was in. But what she's in sounds like it's pretty notable. So I'm looking forward to that. Swerve, what's going on, dude? He's in the chat here. Saw Swerve at WrestleMania weekend. I mentioned that before. Swerve's amazing. But he mentioned here in the chat, he said, Logan's going to make these promos good and put on a great match too. Going to make those promos good. I agree. I think the promos that they had last night, Jey Uso, relies a lot on the yeet shit and whatever. And I like Jey Uso. But he's got to tap more into the serious nature of his character, which we saw a little bit right before WrestleMania. Not like on the Raw before Mania. That was a typical Jey Uso promo. But like the promos he was doing when he got serious with Gunther, right after Gunther destroyed Jimmy, that's what I want to see more out of Jey Uso. And when I interviewed him too, like over Mania weekend, he was in serious mode for most of the interview. That's what I want to see more of from Jey as World Heavyweight Champion. Now, we're probably not going to get that with him and Logan Paul. Logan Paul's kind of a goofy character, so it probably won't be that. But really, they only have to build the match for another week or two. Now, they have not announced the match for Backlash. I would think that's where it's going to be happening. They could save it for Money in the Bank. I don't know if we need a 5-week build to Jey Uso versus Logan Paul, but they could wait on it if they wanted to, because they already are doing Cena versus Orton on that show for the WWE Championship. If they don't feel like the World Heavyweight Championship needs to be defended on that show, then they won't put it on the line on that show. Sometimes they kind of alternate between the two top titles. But I do think it could be a very good match. Again, like I said, Logan Paul went into Mania and had a very mid-match with AJ Styles on that show. But the build also sucked, and AJ's like popular, but he's not Jey Uso. Jey Uso is so beloved, and Logan is so hated. I feel like that dynamic could work really well. Johnny said maybe Jey versus Logan should be a ladder match. No more ladder matches, please. We've seen so many fucking ladder matches recently. I will say that TLC match on SmackDown last week, awesome. That might be one of my favorite SmackDown matches of all time. Someone asked me here on the show last week what my favorite SmackDown match of all time was. And honestly, it might be that one. I'm not even kidding. Like, I love that match from last week's SmackDown's main event. We also got a ladder match on Stand and Deliver, the NXT show over Mania weekend. No more fucking ladder matches for right now. I think Jey and Logan could work as a regular match. Johnny's next question: what is your favorite TLC match of all time? It might be, honestly, it might be the one that we watched last week. I'm not even kidding. And I know that's a recency bias thing, but like the original TLC matches with the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian are outstanding matches, but they're not my favorite because I wasn't watching at that time. So, like, I know Edge and Taker had a Hell in a Cell, or they had their Hell in a Cell match I loved, but they also had a TLC match at Extreme Rules, One Night Stand 2008 that I liked, but it's not like I've gone back and watched it like a million times. Punk and Jeff Hardy had a really good TLC match at SummerSlam 09 that I really, really liked. As far as the TLC, I'm trying to think of the TLC matches on the TLC pay-per-view, which they did for like well over a fucking decade. Punk Del Rio Miz, I really liked. That was a TLC match. The TLC match with The Shield versus Ryback and Team Hell No, that might be my favorite. That was an awesome match and a perfect debut for The Shield. Trying to think of other ones. AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose had a great one in 2016 at that show. 2017 was The Shield return with like Kurt Angle. That match was wild. 2018, what did they do in 2018? I don't really remember. 2019, I don't really remember. So honestly, I think the one from last week might take the cake. The one with like Cena and Edge was also great, but like it's hard to say those are my favorite when I haven't gone back and watched them like a million times. And I also wasn't watching wrestling at that time. AJ Watson, what's going on, my man? Thanks for joining. He said, is it me or are the Four Horsewomen fizzling out negatively with the new generation of women now? Are they fizzling out? I mean, change is always important. And I feel like people just want to see change in the women's division. They want to see new faces with, Julia coming up and Roxanne, Jordan Grace, Stephanie Vaquer, and all these other people. They've had a negative reputation for a while, more so Becky and Charlotte. Sasha to a certain extent, but more so just because she's an AW. I've never really been the biggest Sasha fan, but that's just me personally. But they've also been around for a decade and they've been dominating these divisions for literally 10 years. So honestly, it's kind of hard to blame fans. To call her Becky Hogan is just fucking preposterous because Becky, the last thing she has done has buried talent. She's put over a lot of people, so that's ridiculous. I've even made the case for Charlotte putting over talent, which she fucking did at WrestleMania when she lost to Tiffany. So anyway, I'm not sick of the Four Horsewomen, but are they getting like a negative perception because they bury talent? Yeah, and I'm not really sure why. I think people mix up, especially with the women's performers, they mix up who their favorites are and who they want to see pushed with the people that are great and already there being overbearing. And largely that's the booking's fault for why they're in the spot that they're in. Becky Lynch took a backseat from the women's world title picture for like a fucking year and a half, 2 years. People weren't really saying anything then that she was burying talent because she wasn't. She lost to a lot of people. She lost to, I think, Trish at one point. Did she lose to Trish? I'm pretty sure she did. I forgot their whole feud, but that feud was not great. But that last match they had inside of a steel cage was great. I think she did lose to Trish at the Saudi show a couple of years ago. But anyway, the Four Horsewomen kind of get a negative rep for some reason. I mean, I understand why, but a lot of it's just not true. And people just want to see new faces, so I can understand it. JCW555, what's going on, dude? He said, I think the only Dark Side of the Ring episode that I would want is talking about the early wrestling deaths that happened in the 1980s through the 2000s that they haven't talked about yet. Test, Umaga, etc. Also, hello. But I feel like you're just going to do one episode on people like Test, Umaga and just group them all into one episode. unless there was a common theme there that kind of connected them all, then you're probably not going to do one episode on like the extras, so to speak. They could do an episode on a Tester and Umaga. I would have to know like what's so dark aside from how they died. Like even the Tony Atlas episode, even watching it, I'm thinking like, what's so dark about this? He lived a hard life. He was homeless at one point, but is it really as dark as some of the other people they have talked about on the show? Not really. Umaga, I'm not sure. Test might be a good subject, but I feel like there's other people that would make more sense before them. Nathaniel said, I was really happy in 2020 when Edge returned, and my Lakers won the title that year, so it was great. That's a win-win for you, Nathaniel. Johnny said, Shawn Michaels has had the best second run, and then Daniel Bryan would be number 2. That I can't argue with. If you're talking all-time, Shawn Michaels, honestly, I think Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan, it's kind of a tie. Michaels was back from 2002 to 2010, and in that time, had instant classics with Benoit and Triple H at WrestleMania 20. I know Grunt's going to appreciate that answer. Kurt Angle in 2005, The Undertaker in 2009, and 2010, his last match, until Crown Jewel 2018, obviously. I probably would go Michaels, but like Bryan's second run since 2018, which has been, 6 years? I mean, obviously he was done as of last year, so he was only back for 6 years. I feel like that 2018 year was kind of a waste for him. Like, they didn't really do much with him when he first came back. When he won the WWE title and did the Kofi Mania stuff, that was awesome. It's kind of wasted for the rest of that year, honestly. Like, his heel run was underrated, but didn't last long enough. 2020, I'd probably go Shawn Michaels. I mean, Daniel Bryan, specifically in AEW, had an incredible run, but I would still probably put Shawn's overall body of work over Daniel Bryan's second run. Like, Shawn's second run over Daniel Bryan's second run. But that's a good question, though. Nathaniel said, I was hoping to see Edge win the World Championship in 2021, but I love the Seth feud. I thought Edge would win at WrestleMania because that was going to fall on the exact 10-year anniversary of when he actually lost or gave up the World Heavyweight Championship. The night that he challenged Roman for the title with Daniel Bryan at Mania 37, night 2, I think that was the exact 10-year anniversary of when he vacated the World Heavyweight Championship. It was the perfect story, and he didn't win. And honestly, it worked out for the better because Roman wanted to have that historic run where he was champion for like 4 years. So it ended up working out for the best. But you would think even he would have won the World Heavyweight Championship maybe in 2023. But by that point, he was kind of on his way out, so I guess not. Grunt said, remember when Backlash was sometimes better than WrestleMania? Remember when? Bro, that was the case in the last couple of years. Backlash the last 2 years has been fucking awesome. This year, honestly, I feel like Backlash this year, I mean, the last 2 years, it was difficult because Mania 39 and Mania 40, Mania 39 was excellent. Mania 40 might be slightly lower on the list, but Mania 40 was still great. Mania 41 was weaker than those two, and those two Backlash shows in Puerto Rico and in Lyon, France were fucking awesome. Last year's Backlash specifically was one of the best they have ever done. They've had a lot of strong Backlash shows over the years. Not every year. Backlash 2018 exists, but I love Backlash 2023, Backlash 2024, Backlash 2016, Backlash 2009. I love. Mr. Marceau was there at that one, among other matches. Among other shows, rather. So this year, Backlash might be better than Mania. Honestly, I feel like given the card that they have on tap, I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, this is a stacked card. But like, seriously, like the matches they've advertised, Cena and Orton for nostalgia alone should be fun. I'm actually looking forward to Gunther and Pat McAfee. Jay and Logan Paul, if they do that match, should be a very good match. Becky and Lyra should be great. Like, that's a pretty fucking strong card for 4, 5, 6 matches, whatever they're going to end up doing. It could quite honestly be better than WrestleMania, but we'll see how they execute it. If Cena and Orton sucks and the finish is awful, then maybe not, but I guess we'll see. Johnny said AJ Styles can win the TNA title one more time. That would be cool. Not banking on it, but it would be cool. Johnny said, dream promo battle, Stone Cold and Jey Uso. What versus Yeet? Dude, that would be fucking awful. The back and forth Yeet versus what? The what chant alone is annoying, but having it go against the Yeet would just be, that would be like nails on a chalkboard. So that would be a nightmare promo battle for me personally. Fernando said, Jay versus Logan does not deserve a title match. Enough of this guy. Well, I mean, he's getting a title match, Fernando. I'm sorry, Fernando, what's going on? Thanks for joining. I don't know if I said that earlier. I think I did shout you. I did. You were in the chat earlier. But anyway, Jay and Logan is a pretty top-tier world title match. It's not like a main event of WrestleMania worthy, but like for Jay's first opponent, I feel like it makes sense. Fernando said, no way was the TLC match last Friday better than the TLC match. I'm not saying it was better. I'm not saying that. The question was what my favorite is. And I think it might be last Friday because I think the Mania 17 one might be my favorite otherwise. But like I said, I wasn't watching at that point. I don't go back and watch that match. Any of the TLC matches from that era, I haven't watched them back 10 times over because I just don't have the nostalgia element with those matches. So honestly, it might be last week's SmackDown. I'd really have to go down the list, though. Johnny said, I hear Becky and Charlotte's favorite slogan is, that doesn't work for me, brother. No. The slogan is, that doesn't work for me, sister. Fernando said, I'm looking forward to the hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert, Dark Side of the Ring. Oh, that's this week, isn't it? That's the episode this week? Yeah, my review of that, I haven't watched even last week's yet, but my review of the Eddie Gilbert one should be up probably like later this week, next week, depends how caught up I am by that point. All my reviews, by the way, will also be up at some point. There's a lot of reviews I've yet to get to on WrestleRant.com, so if you read the reviews, first of all, thank you. Second of all, they will be up as soon as I can get to them. Maybe today, tomorrow, Thursday. There's been a lot going on personally and just in general, so I will get to them soon. I promise you that. Grunt said, how many ad breaks did they do during the TLC match? Because it might be tempted to check it out after seeing your praise for it. Grunt brother, there was none. There were no ad breaks. They made it ad free. That whole last match was commercial free, which I did not know until I was watching it. And then I think they mentioned it on commentary. I'm like, fuck, bro. They made this commercial free? Fuck yeah. And it was the main event. Let's go. I don't know. You may not like the match as much as I did, but it's on WWE's YouTube channel. They typically upload the main event or the main event segment of each Raw and SmackDown in their entirety and put it up on their channel. The match is up on their channel if you want to go back and check it out. In its entirety, no ad breaks, including entrances. I think it's just straight up the entire match with entrances. On the YouTube channel, I'm not sure. But when I watched it, they did all the entrances. They gave the match a ton of time. And I don't think there was a single commercial, which I thought was awesome. Grunt also says, Rip Test and Umaga. Nathaniel said, WrestleMania 17 ladder match is my favorite WrestleMania match of all time. Very nice. Fernando said, crazy, Bob Backlund's second half of his career is underrated. He won the title from Brett at Survivor Series. He did. Bob rather, had a pretty, that's a very underrated run. The Mania match, Brett thought sucked. He has a lot of respect for Bob, but he's talked about how he was not a fan of that match. And the match also, it was that I Quit match. I don't even think he said I quit. I think he just tapped out or something. It was weird, but the match wasn't good. But yeah, Bob coming back and winning the WWE title. Granted, he lost it like a fucking day or two later to Kevin Nash. But he was a pretty good heel. Like the crazy Bob Backlund shit he was doing. The turn itself was great at Survivor Series. Back in 93, that would have been. And that would have been 94. Because I think him and Bob had the match in 95. I don't remember, but they had a great... he had a very good redemption run that year, coming back and winning the championship, albeit briefly. Grunt said, damn straight, I appreciate it. I swear I like other shows besides WrestleMania 20. That's the first thing I think of, Grunt, at this point. Mania 20 is synonymous with you. AJ said, do you think Seth will beat Jay at SummerSlam? Sammy wins the Rumble and then potentially wins the world title at next year's Mania. I've been saying even before the whole Seth turn happened that Sammy should win the championship at WrestleMania. What I would do personally, you could have Sammy beat Seth and that would make sense. But with the way he has lost to Drew a million fucking times, I would have him face Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship, or rather the WWE title. So maybe Cody gets the belt back from Cena at some point. Drew beats Cody. And then you do Sammy and Cody at WrestleMania. That's probably what I would do, honestly. I do think Sammy should win the Rumble and win the championship at Mania next year. Nathaniel asked if I watched the Vince doc. I did. Not only did I watch it, I did a full-on review of it, like a half-hour review here on the channel back in September, October. So go back and check that out. The overall documentary was eye-opening. And honestly, I feel like it's great just as much for non-wrestling fans as it is for wrestling fans. I feel like a lot of non-wrestling fans can follow it, be not entertained by it. It's pretty jarring stuff, but they can be enlightened by it and be invested in it and interested in it. I heard from a lot of people that were not fans, like friends of mine and family and shit, that either heard about the doc or watched the doc on Netflix, and were like, holy shit, what the fuck? But yes, I did watch it. Johnny asked, TLC or Ultimate X? For me, TLC. I like Ultimate X. I can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, there's one Ultimate X match is my favorite of all time. They've all kind of blended together for me. They're all great, but they all kind of blend together. I think TLC, I've enjoyed TLC more personally. And I feel like they've made TLC more special. Ultimate X, I feel like they've done fucking 5 or 10 of them in the last like 3 years. Whereas we haven't seen a formal TLC match in WWE in like 5 years. Aside from like the tables, ladders, and scares matches in NXT in recent years. Grunt said with Paul and Uso, with Paul versus Uso and Gunther versus McAfee, come on, man. Grunt, first of all, you're just a WWE hater because you're very anti-WWE. Second of all, I'm not saying that Backlash is going to be this all-time great show. I'm saying that there's a chance, yes, it could be better than WrestleMania. Night 1 of WrestleMania was very fucking mid, up until the main event. And Night 2 overall was great, but that main event was very fucking mid. Backlash is a contained show. If they can go in there and have very good matches, and the crowd's hot for it, they're in St. Louis. I'm not sure how hot the crowd will be compared to Lyon, France last year in the San Juan show 2 years ago. You underestimate Pat McAfee. I know people don't like Pat McAfee. First of all, we're talking about fucking Gunther here. Pat McAfee had a string of quality matches in NXT a few years ago, and even on the main roster as well. And he's also fucking beloved. So, like, again, you go in there and think, oh, this isn't, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, so it's not going to be good. Those guys can go in there and have a very fun match. If you're not a WWE fan, then you're probably not going to like the match, and that's totally fine. But to say that it wouldn't be a good match, could they go in there and have a shit show? Sure, but even Gunther going in there and squashing Pat McAfee has a better story than half of like these great matches in AEW where it's all great match, great match. Well, I don't give a fuck. There's no fucking story. At least with McAfee and Gunther, there's a story there. It's very, AEW has their own. Dynasty fucking sucked. I mean, Dynasty was a terrible show. So I'd rather watch Backlash over a show like that any day of the week. And I'm not trying to shill one company over the other, but I'm just saying to completely shit on a match like Pat McAfee and Gunther when you don't even watch the show, first of all, that's part of the problem. And two, Jey Uso and Logan Paul could have a quality match. Jey Uso is so fucking over, those people won't even give a shit. Like, Jey and Gunther did not have this Mac Classic at WrestleMania, but it was a great moment because Jey Uso's so over and they told a great story. And it was a very good opener overall. Just my opinion. Johnny said, I've watched the Okada versus Omega series more than any other match. Those matches are great, so I can't complain with you there. Can't argue with you there, rather. Nathaniel said, do you think Edge versus Cena is the greatest rivalry ever? Absolutely not. Ever? Like Cena's greatest feud? It's not even Cena's greatest feud, let alone the greatest feud of all time. Not even close, but they did have a great feud, though. JC Dubs said, I'd say Cena and Edge is Cena's best rivalry, but of all time, it's up there, but I don't think so. Yeah, that's what I said. It's not even Cena's best. Cena's best to me is CM Punk. Edge would probably be 2, Orton 3, just because of the sheer amount of matches they had. But Edge and Punk haven't beat by far. Even AJ Styles might be Cena's better opponent. Cena and Styles had great fucking matches. Even The Rock was a good opponent for Cena. The second match sucked, but the first match was, lived up to the billing, lived up to the expectations, and they had some really strong promos, too, overall. D Professor said, what's going on, D Professor? First of all, thank you for joining. He said, Saudi's pay-per-views are really forgettable. I forgot that John Cena versus Triple H, they had a match at Greatest Royal Rumble 2012 pay-per-view. Yeah. I mean, especially those early ones. The more recent Saudi shows, I would argue, have been a lot better. Night of Champions 2023, King and Queen of the Ring last year, Crown Jewel last year. I don't really remember much about it off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it. But I remember liking King and Queen of the Ring, Crown Jewel 2021. It was more so those early Saudi shows that were like really fucking bad. They were glorified house shows. Not only did they do John Cena and Triple H on the show that you mentioned, they did Triple H's last televised WWE match at a fucking Saudi show in 2019 against Randy Orton. They did a Triple H Randy Orton match in 2019 in Saudi Arabia. Wasn't very good. It was like the crowd was into it, but it was like if that was the best thing on the entire show, that's how you know the show sucked. But that is kind of crazy that they were doing those matches on Saudi shows at the time. Nathaniel said, I loved Edge versus SummerSlam, or loved Edge versus Cena at SummerSlam 2006. And the TLC match, both are my favorite, even though the Rated R Superstar Spinner Belt didn't last after Unforgiven. Yeah, that was a cool design while it lasted, and that TLC match was great. The SummerSlam match I've only seen a few times, but I remember that being good between Edge and Cena in Boston, SummerSlam '06. And Alexis is also here. She said, hi, first of all. She also said, I've been in here since the stream started. LOL. Thought I'd pop in and say hi. Alexis is always welcome. Thank you for joining our go-to mod here for the streams. So if you have any questions, guys, in the chat, be sure to let me know. We'll go to the scheduled questions here, and I'll go back to the chat in a little bit. Mike Does It from YouTube asked a couple random questions here, but I always love the random questions. His first one was, yeet, no yeet, and delete. Yeet means hang out. That's what he says. He's saying yeet means hang out with. No yeet means we're not friends. And delete means you'll throw them off Hell in the Cell. That's what he said. So he included 3 groups of 3 people each. Yeet, no yeet, and delete. All right. So the first group was Vicky Guerrero, Linda McMahon, and Nia Jax. Nia Jax, that's easily a yeet. When I interviewed Nia over Rumble weekend, she was great. She was really good. She was very nice. I've never been the biggest Nia fan, but she's really, first of all, she's come a long way since she returned to the company. And second of all, she was pretty cool when I talked to her. So she's easily a yeet. No yeet means that we're not friends, Mike has said. And delete means you throw them off Hell in the Cell. I mean, I think Linda might just be a worse person based on shit that we've seen her say. But I just cannot stand Vicky Guerrero. If I have to hear that excuse me one more time, I mean, it was fun for a nostalgia pop in the Rumble in 2018, but her AEW run was fucking awful. So I'd throw Vicky off the Hell in the Cell and just say no yeet to Linda McMahon. 2, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. This is a bit tougher. Yeet, no yeet, and delete. I'll say yeet Roman Reigns. The interactions I had with Roman, he was very cool. They're all cool, I think, but Dean Ambrose seems very standoffish and like he probably wouldn't want to hang out with you. So I would throw Dean, especially if it's fucking Death Rider Dean Ambrose or Death Rider John Moxley, throwing him off Hell in the Cell. So I'll say yeet to Roman, no yeet to Rollins, and throwing off Ambrose off of Hell in the Cell. And then 3, John Cena, Stone Cold, and Cody Rhodes. Another good question. Yeet, no yeet, or throw off Hell in the Cell. I'm going to say, I'm going to throw Cena off Hell in the Cell. Stone Cold and Cody are also my interactions with them. I mean, even Cena was cool when I talked to him, but I feel like Stone Cold and Cody would be more fun to hang out with. Cena seems like kind of a fucking stiff, like, oh, I got to wear a suit, fuck you. I'm going to say yeet to Stone Cold, because, I mean, honestly, if anyone could get me to drink, it might be Stone Cold Steve Austin. At the very least, I'd pop back a Coca-Cola with Stone Cold Steve Austin, swig of soda for the working man with Stone Cold. So, a Steve Weiser, Coke Weiser, whatever. I'm going to say yeet to Stone Cold, no yeet to Cody, throw Cena off Hell in the Cell. And his second random question was, what is your daily favorite snack? Very random. I don't know if there's any one go-to, but like chips is probably my number one. I don't know if that's like a snack. That's more of like a while I'm watching Raw type thing, like while I'm watching wrestling, if like I want something later on. If I had a choice between like ice cream or chips or like any certain food, it would easily be chips every single time. But like I can go for a granola bar depending on what it is. Cheez-Its, fucking love Cheez-Its. Honestly, call me a child. Cheez-Its, Goldfish, I love that shit. So I don't have it daily. Like that's kind of where his question is tough to answer because I don't have that shit daily. But like, if I had to choose one, it would easily be chips. But like for a snack or something, it would probably be Cheez-Its. Honestly, Cheez-Its are good, almost too good. Got to stay away from that shit. But I'm just kidding. Cheez-Its are great, but probably chips. Jordan B, we were talking about Pat McAfee earlier, but his question was from YouTube. If Pat McAfee decides to wrestle again, who would you like to see him feud with? For me, it would be a proper feud with The Miz and Grayson Waller. Honestly, I mean, I feel like Pat McAfee and Miz would just be at this point, no one would give a fuck because Miz is just like, eh. Like, does anyone honestly give a shit about The Miz in 2025? And I love The Miz. I love The Miz. Longtime Miz fan. I'm just saying anything he's involved in is typically terrible. Maybe a few years ago, like when Pat McAfee feuded with Corbin, I actually enjoyed that. Thought they had a good match. In 2025, probably not with Miz. Grayson Waller would be a good one, but like, what does it even accomplish just to get Pat McAfee a win? You know what I mean? They just have so many people on the roster they could feature instead. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Waller and Pat McAfee would be the play. Like, why not just focus on other people on the roster? Gunther and Pat McAfee works because it gives Gunther a win. People like Pat. We know Pat can go. Or at least he could a few years ago. That was years ago. I'm not sure how well that match is going to go in 2025. But if they book it properly and he can go, then it should be fun, honestly. But if Pat McAfee had to wrestle, I mean, you said if he decides to wrestle again, we found out last night it's going to be fucking Gunther. But beyond that, I'd say Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller is a good, shit talker, and he's a great heel. Got to get him on his own, break up him in theory, which has been going on for like the last 10 years. Yeah, I'll say McAfee and Waller. Honestly, there's no other match I'm thinking to myself, oh man, McAfee's got to face this person or that person. That's got to happen. Like, not really. Like, there's nothing really that jumps out to me, but probably Grayson Waller if I had to take a guess here. All right, let me pop up the chat before we continue on to the questions. Fernando said Pat is beneath Gunther. He should feel insulted that this is his follow-up match after being world champ. Listen, it's just a quick feud, I would think. If they continue it beyond Backlash, there might be a problem. But, like, it's a quick feud. First of all, Pat is beloved by the WWE audience overall. So, say about that what you will. But he's beloved. The guy is it's not like they're doing Gunther and Michael Cole. Like, they're using Michael Cole as a vehicle to get to Pat versus Gunther. But Pat has wrestled before. Gunther can just it's not like Pat McAfee is beating Gunther. Like, I don't know what part of this people don't really understand. Do you really want Gunther in there feuding with he's not going to get the belt back from Jey Uso. They're done with that, move on. Do you really want Gunther out there beating AJ Styles, who just lost at WrestleMania to Logan Paul? No. I mean, Gunther should win his next match. And there's not many, like him and Sheamus. He's already beaten Sheamus like 4 or 5 times. Like, you can get to those feuds, but not right now. He needs an easy win against someone who is over, and Pat McAfee fits the bill. I don't really see the issue with it personally. It's not like he's fucking opening pay-per-views now, opening pay-per-views isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not like he's not being featured or he's in the mid-card going back after the IC title. Not by a long shot, at least not yet. Nathaniel said, I'm so excited for Stranger Things Season 5 in October. It should be scary. We just watched the show a couple of months ago. We thought it ended on a high note with Season 4. I have a short coming out about my thoughts on Stranger Things, probably next week. Johnny said, rank these Shawn Michaels rivalries. For some reason, I thought that's at SummerSlam. Triple H, Jericho, Taker, and Bret Hart. It's a good question. Rank these Shawn Michaels rivalries. I always loved the Shawn Triple H feud. I know some of their matches were stinkers, but I always loved their feud, so I'm going to say Shawn Triple H. You know what? I take that back. The Jericho one might be of all those feuds, like the Bret Hart one, they legitimately hated each other. I don't know. I might go Jericho, then Triple H, then Bret, or then Taker, and then Bret, because I feel like Taker and Shawn just had better matches. Bret Hart and him hated each other, and they had a good feud, but I don't know. I'd probably put that last. That's probably a blasphemous thing to say, but that's my own opinion. Nathaniel said, man, Vicky, excuse me, stuff was loud and annoying. Tell me about it. Johnny said, do you have a women's match that you watch the most? I do. Bayley and Sasha Banks, TakeOver Brooklyn 2015. Easily, I've watched that match more than, honestly, even more than most men's matches. That is one of my favorite matches of all time. The story, the match, the post-match, I was there for it. It was a special time for NXT, and that show was great, but that match specifically, honestly, might be the best women's match of all time. And if it's not, it's in the Mount Rushmore or whatever, so easily that one. I've seen that match probably like fucking 24 times, which is a lot for my standards. Typically, I love stuff and then just move on. Let's see. Maria says, Logan and Pat McAfee having big-time matches at Backlash is a joke. This Backlash is going to suck. Man, you guys do not give a fuck about this stuff at Backlash, don't you? That's fine. You know what? Listen, if they go on to have terrible matches, then you might be right. But I think this shit could work, honestly. I feel like both matches are totally fine. It's a fucking B-level post-WrestleMania pay-per-view. It is what it is. I think the matches will be fine. Nathaniel said, do I wish we could have seen Cena versus Hogan? Yeah, but when Hogan was healthier, I feel like even if they did the match when it was rumored in 2009, it probably still would have sucked. I mean, Hogan had matches after that where he was largely limited. No, Alexis, you are not just learning now that I like granola bars. The ones that I've been offered before I do not like. It's certain granola bars that I enjoy. You know that too. I think you just forget easily for some reason. But anyway, Cena and Hogan, I don't really think we needed to have seen it. I just feel like the match probably wouldn't have been good. But at the right time in like 06, 07, 08, yeah, maybe. If it was done properly, then sure. Grunt said, fair enough, I won't yuck your yum, as the kids say. It's not even yucking my yum. It's not even because I like it. I just feel like that's not a real fair thing to say. I just feel like, again, you don't watch the show, so I don't know. For anyone who doesn't watch the show, it's kind of hard to, first of all, judge. Second of all, I also feel like the match just makes sense. I'm not even sitting here saying that these matches are going to be bangers. I just look at this card and say to myself, I feel like a lot of these matches make sense and the crowd's going to be into it. You don't have to like it. If you're more into the ring work and shit like that, that's totally fine. But I just feel like with what the WWE crowd's like and what they're going to be into, I feel like those are matches that could be fun when in the right environment, which it should be at a Backlash. Maria said Dynasty was really good. The only problem with it was the main event. It wasn't. Dynasty was not good. I think you're thinking of Revolution. Revolution was great. Dynasty was fucking boring, and the main event sucked. I mean, the main event overall was fine. I thought the overall shit. The AEW was a way better pay-per-views. Way, way, way better pay-per-views than Dynasty. That show is, by AEW standards, that show is not good. Johnny said Lay's or Doritos. Easily Lay's. I like Doritos, but I wouldn't willingly have them. Nathaniel said, I love the Miz and Morrison dirt sheet. Yeah, I like that show as well. Sorry, I just got to send a text real quick. Let's see. Did you like the dirt sheet? I enjoyed the dirt sheet. I thought the dirt sheet was fun. When they brought it back in 2020, I thought that was fun too, but they didn't really do a whole lot with it. One sec. Sorry, this is an important text. All right. Yeah, the dirt sheet was fun while it lasted. Let's see. Imagine if Pat beats Gunther because of Goldberg. Bro, that would be fucking terrible. Is that possible? Yeah, it's possible. I don't see that happening, but that would have been... I hope not. Gunther versus Michael Cole would have been a classic. I'm sure it would have been 5 stars. Grunt said, I thought Gunther attacking McAfee was going to lead to him going away for a little bit until they had a big program set up for him, honestly. That's what I thought too, but they're doing the match at Backlash, so... I mean, he got a vacation for like 2 months, or for 2 weeks. Better than nothing. He could have gone away, but he also went away last year after Mania, and then he was away until he won King of the Ring. So, just give him a win. They could have set up him and McAfee for down the road at like another show. I mean, you're not even saying that's not even what you're saying, but I'm just saying they could have waited to do the match a little bit later on. It does feel rushed, but I have no issue with them doing that match. 0. Nathaniel said, I love Shawn Michaels versus Taker feud. They had a great feud. Are you watching Thunderbolts this weekend? Fernando said, I am. I am definitely seeing it this weekend at some point. And when I do, we can have, I misread Alexis's chat here. She said that she was looking forward to Pat and Gunther. I'm very excited. They're polar opposites. It writes itself. I agree. Yeah, we're going to see Thunderbolts probably either, I don't know, Thursday or probably this weekend or something like that. So, yeah, I will definitely see it, and when I do, I'll probably put up a WrestleRant reacts on it for my quick thoughts in the movie. Johnny said, I wish Abyss would have come to WWE during his prime. I agree. That would have been cool. At least he's in 2K25, though. That's pretty sick, at least as part of a DLC pack soon. Johnny also said Abyss versus Undertaker in Hell in the Cell would have been amazing. Amazing, I don't know, but that would have been fun, though. That would have been a cool feud to do in 2007 when Abyss was initially rumored to be coming to the company. Abyss versus John Cena in a TLC match would have been amazing. Again, amazing. I use that word loosely, but maybe it would have been interesting for sure. Fernando said, I would rather listen to Vicky say excuse me a million times than watch Hogan versus Cena LOL. I got to disagree with you there. In 2025, sure. But if we're talking 07, 08, 09 when the match was initially rumored, I would much rather watch Hogan versus Cena Then Vicky say, excuse me. Vicky is fucking awful. Millennial Noob said, hello, Graham. How are you doing? Noob, what's going on, man? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Hope you are doing well as well. So I'm going to move the chat here for a second, go back to the scheduled questions. Coming from Grunt, actually, he sent in a question ahead of time from YouTube. I actually really like this question. His question was, if you had to pick an era, and I'll also go back to the chat a little bit. His question was, if you had to pick an era of WWE for each division, main event, mid-card, tag team, and women's, based on how well they were represented and booked in said era, which ones would you pick? For example, which era had the best main event scene, which era had the best mid-card, etc. Again, like I said, great question. And my answers, it kind of came to me pretty quickly and pretty easily. The best main event scene that WWE's ever had was the Attitude Era. They had Triple H, Shawn Michaels for a little while, Bret Hart for a little while, Kane, Undertaker, Big Show towards the end there, Jericho towards the end there, Rock, Stone Cold, Mankind, among other people kind of interchangeably being inserted into the main event. So easily Attitude Era for best main event scene WWE's ever had. I mean, they have, honestly, for the fact they had Rock and Stone Cold at the same time at all, made that the best main event scene. Mid-card, I'm going Ruthless Aggression. Ruthless Aggression from like right after Attitude Era up until like the late 2000s, you had a lot of great Intercontinental champions and U.S. champions. The guy's a piece of shit, obviously, but Chris Benoit was IC champion and United States champion several times. You had Eddie Guerrero in the mix. Edge. You had, at that point, Mr. Kennedy, Umaga. Like, I'm also thinking of guys that were, like, go-to mid-carders on SmackDown in, like, the late 2000s that I really liked. Finlay, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy, Carlito. I think I said MVP. Whole lot of those kind of guys. Like, Christian. They definitely Ruthless Aggression. John Cena, before he became main event, was in the mid-card. A lot of them. The mid-card in the Ruthless Aggression era was great. Ric Flair there for a little bit. Best tag team division, it's got to be the 80s. I almost said the Attitude Era for like the Dudleys, Hardys, and Edge and Christian. And they had some other good teams like the, New Age Outlaws and shit. But beyond like those matches and those feuds, the tag team division wasn't like as prominently featured or as big of a deal as it was in the 80s. It's got to be the 80s. Certainly not recent years, I'll tell you that much. But the 80s tag team division, you had Legion of Doom, Demolition, Heart Foundation. I mean, the list goes on and on. They had great fucking matches. The teams were important. You had like actual teams, not makeshift teams. And even the makeshift teams, like when you include like the Mega Powers and the Mega Maniacs or whatever with Warrior and Savage there for a little while, among other people. They had some great fucking teams there in the 80s and early 90s. So I got to go 80s for the best tag team division in WWE. And then for the women's, I'd go today. I mean, I wouldn't say like 2025 specifically, but like when Ronda came, I would say the last 10 years. I don't know what era that would be classified as. We've been over this before. But really, whenever the Four Horsewomen came up, so like in 2015 onward, I mean, the peak of when the women were featured was when Ronda came in the first time with the first Evolution, the main event at WrestleMania. But even in the years that have followed, we've gotten Bianca on the main roster, Rhea Ripley, and they're both awesome. Tiffany Stratton is now here, and she's a star. And even now, we have Stephanie and Julia, Roxanne are all excellent. The Four Horsewomen have really dominated WWE for the last decade, like I said. Lyra's here now, and she's quite good. We have the inclusion, I mean, the women's tag titles, who gives a shit, but they brought those in. They debuted women's mid-card championships. They've main evented quite a few pay-per-views. They had Evolution, like I said. So I don't know like what year specifically I would say, but I would say for the last 10, the reality era, the Paul Levesque era, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Easily the best the women's division has ever been. Easily. Like there's no way you could say like the fucking 2000s or like the 80s or the 90s. It's obviously right now. And I didn't even do that on purpose, but I think I picked some variety there in my answers. Attitude Era main event, mid-card Ruthless Aggression, tag team 80s, and women's today. I feel like that worked out actually pretty perfectly. Noel has 2 questions from Facebook. Their first question was, do you see Becky Lynch winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship? I do. So I mentioned this in the headline of the video. Should Becky Lynch win the Women's Intercontinental Championship? The answer is yes. I do think she should. And I was joking with RJ, and shout out to Daniel Malcolm, by the way, who called her Becky Balboa. Not Becky Balboa, Becky Balea. That was fucking funny. Not Becky Hogan, which a lot of people use. Becky Balea is fucking hysterical. It's not true, obviously, and Daniel knows that, but it was just really funny. So we were joking this morning, oh, like Becky, I would rather Lyra win. I'm saying, no, I think Becky should win. I think Becky should win that first match. If Lyra wins, great. But I think Becky should win the first match. So Lyra, if the idea is for Lyra to get the belt back and put over Lyra in the end, which I feel like she will. She already lost to Lyra, the NXT Women's fucking title match they had like a year and a half ago in NXT. So she's already lost to Lyra. If you have her lose again to Lyra, there's really nowhere to go. You could do a rematch. Becky's got to beat her at some point. So honestly, I would have Becky beat her, be champion there for a while, raise the stakes, raise the prestige and the profile of that belt, and then put it back on Lyra a little bit later on. That's what I would do. So, yeah, I do think Becky should win the belt. You can have her work with Bayley. Maybe Bayley beats her for it, but Lyra really should avenge that loss to Becky at some point soon and not do a Rhea Charlotte situation where she loses to Charlotte and then doesn't get her win back for fucking 3 years. That would be bad. But no, I am fully on board with Becky winning the belt at Backlash. And I'm fine if she doesn't. If Lyra wins, great. Honestly, it's a win-win. If Becky wins, the feud should continue. Lyra can eventually beat her. But if she doesn't win, then it's a win for Lyra Valkyria. So honestly, it's kind of hard to complain. Now, L's second question. What would be your top 5 movie opening scenes, that you've seen in the last 10 years? I have no idea. But I will say this. This wasn't 10 years ago. It was 11 years ago. One of my favorite opening scenes of all time in any movie I've watched is the opening scene of Guardians. Not when he's a kid and he's, his mom's got the cancer and she's dying. I'm not talking about that. But like when they first introduce Star-Lord, when he's walking through like that barren area with like he's like, hey, when that song is playing. What's the matter with you? Well, I forgot the name of the song off the top of my head. Come and Get Your Love. Still one of my favorite scenes in any movie you've ever seen. Not even Marvel, but just in general. That, and then also the opening scene of Guardians 2. That isn't within the last 10 years. That was Guardians 2 in 2017. With like Baby Groot. Same sort of thing. They open with a flashback, but like the actual opening scene with Mr. Blue Sky or whatever that song is, and Groot dancing around as Baby Groot, that was also great. So I can't speak to any other opening movie scenes that I can remember everything kind of... I can't say, oh man, this is my favorite opening scene in the last 10 years. Even if you asked me ever, the answer would still be the same. I have no fucking clue. But Guardians would probably be my answer, both Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. Let's check back in with the chat here. Fernando asked, Abyss versus, or just said Abyss versus Kane would have been a dope story. Yeah, it could have been cool. I feel like that could have been interesting. Grunt said Abyss versus Darby would have been brutal in all the right ways. That would have been fucking crazy. Abyss and Darby in a Monsters Ball match in TNA in 2007 would have been insane. Grunt said all solid answers. If they booked the mid-card titles better in the Ruthless Aggression era in terms of meaningful reigns, storylines, and getting booked on pay-per-views. Oh, if only they booked. Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, even then, like, are the mid-card belts really that much better today than they were then? Like, everyone that I mentioned, Benoit, Eddie, Edge, Jericho, Christian, RVD, all of those guys are future world champions, all ended up becoming world champions. And Randy Orton, they were all mid-card champions first. And all of those belts, the U.S. and the women's, or the IC rather, were defended pretty consistently on pay-per-view. So, I mean, we say that. But yeah, I just feel like it just makes more sense for, I don't know. I just feel like it makes more sense to go with the mid-card belts from that Ruthless Aggression era because the talent was there. I'm not saying they had these great meaningful reigns. Do I remember one single meaningful reign? But no, but they also had some great matches over those belts. And they really were, like in many ways, the stepping stones for bigger and better things. Today, you can't really say that. Like today, if you win a mid-card belt, you might go on to win a world championship, but it's not really guaranteed. A lot of the people who held the IC title specifically did go on to win world championships in WWE. Like I said, the Benoits, the Eddies, the Edges, Jericho, Christian, Jeff Hardy. A lot of SmackDown, maybe not so much. But like today, Dominic could win a world championship at some point. But like Nakamura, was he winning it as a stepping stone for bigger and better things? No. Gunther did. Gunther definitely did. Sami Zayn, hopefully. I mean, the belts have been booked better in recent years under Triple H. But I'm thinking more so like 5 years ago. Like, they weren't using the fucking IC title to propel Apollo Crews to the main event. They did for Big E. Apollo Crews, no. The Deadpool 3 opening scene, Alexis, she likes that one. I would agree with that too. Yeah, anyway. Millennial Noob said, what do you think of Roxanne Perez being on the main roster? To me, I'm looking forward to it. However, I think Roxanne should have feuded with Cora Jade before she got called up. It's not really necessary, because are you going to turn one of them babyface? Honestly, it would just be a match, and then you can move them both up. Maybe they could still do that, honestly. I'm not sure if Roxanne's pulling double duty or if she's on Raw full-time. She was on NXT last week, so I'm not really sure. Did we really need another Roxanne Cora Jade feud? They already feuded for a while back in 2022. I know now, like, Roxanne's the heel, but are you going to turn Cora Jade back babyface? She's better off as a heel, so that doesn't really bother me that we didn't get another full-fledged feud between the two. And they also kind of had them split by having Roxanne walk off on Cora at Stand and Deliver anyway. Johnny said, what is the best decade in wrestling? The best decade? Probably have to be the 90s, right? I mean, it would probably have to be the 90s, because I'm thinking, like, in 90 through 92, you still had, like, the leftovers of the 80s. 93 through 95 in WWE sucked. But, like, 96, 97, 98, 99, for a lot of people, I don't like the Ruthless Aggression era personally, but it was the hottest period in the company's history. It might be the 90s. I mean, in the 80s, what can really people point to from, like, 80 through 85 before the first WrestleMania? And then in the 2000s, I honestly might say the 2000s. I would probably say that might be my favorite decade in wrestling. I grew up from, like, I started watching in 08. I watched all of 2010 through 2020. But those years, like, specifically later on, had a lot of bad shit. 2000 to 2010 might be the right answer, because you had, like, WCW closed, ECW closed. You had that shit in the 90s, so it's probably the 90s. But, like, in the 2000s is my favorite personally. You had the start of TNA, start of Ring of Honor, start of the brand split. The product got shitty by the end of the 2000s, but you had the Ruthless Aggression era, the start of Cena, Batista, Orton, Rey Mysterio came in, the Invasion sucked, but you had the tail end of WCW, which was bad. I understand that, but I don't know. I just like the 2000s more, but the best one would probably be the 90s, if only for the Monday Night Wars, among, like, the early 90s, the late 90s, and some other decent stuff in the middle there. Grunt said alliterations are great for sure. Johnny said the opening scene in Inglourious Bastards was classic. I have not seen Inglourious Bastards, so I can't say that. But you also said, I was thinking that same one. I almost said the opening scene in Avengers Infinity War with with Loki and whatnot and Thanos and shit. That is a great opening scene. It's not one that I've gone back. I mean, I've seen the movie a million times, but I wouldn't say, oh man, that's my favorite opening scene. It's a great opening scene. I didn't want to say that one too, because then I'd be just naming all Marvel stuff. Marvel has great opening scenes. What can I say? Johnny said Darby versus Sabu versus Jeff Hardy in a monstrous ball would have been crazy. You would have needed a fucking ambulance on standby. Johnny said Mankind would have been great during the early years of CZW. He probably would have died. And Fernando said, who did you enjoy better, HBK or Daniel Bryan? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I grew up on Daniel Bryan. Shawn Michaels was kind of done by the time that I started watching. So who did I enjoy more? That's a very good question. I might just say Shawn Michaels. I feel like there's more favorite Shawn Michaels matches of mine, even from times that I was not watching wrestling, even over Daniel Bryan. Honestly, like, I think Daniel Bryan, I liked watching him. I didn't watch him in Ring of Honor and stuff, but, like, in WWE, the NXT stuff was good. Like, the whole Yes movement was awesome. Him and Team Hell No was great. I liked him as U.S. champion a lot. Daniel Bryan's great. I might go Shawn Michaels, though. I feel like Shawn, I enjoy his matches more with The Undertaker and Kurt Angle and Triple H. Shawn just, I don't know, there's just something about his matches that really just, like, man, that guy's just fucking greatest of all time. So I might go Shawn. And then he also asked Vader or Big Show. Vader. I mean, obviously, I grew up on Big Show. Vader wasn't around during my time, but Vader was just an overall better performer. The best big man probably of all time, or at least one of them. Big Show turned way too many fucking times. Big Show didn't have a lot of great matches. Vader did. I'd definitely go Vader on that one. So we'll close it out with the last couple of questions that were sent in beforehand. At ULGU91, when Michelle McCool, this was from Twitter, by the way, when Michelle McCool was announced to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, Undertaker was one of the choices I thought would, and ultimately did, induct her. However, there were people that were against it as they never worked together and wanted Layla to do it. What are your thoughts? I think Layla should have done it too. I mean, she is most synonymous with Layla from their time as Laycool from 09 through 2011. I mean, that's a long time, especially back in those days when teams would break up within months, especially in the women's division. But they wanted Taker. I mean, she might have wanted Taker because Taker's her husband. But two, WWE wanted Taker because he's a bigger name and people buy tickets to this shit. People are paying fucking hundreds of dollars to go to the Hall of Fame, which to me is just asinine. But they'd rather see Undertaker on stage than Layla. So I would have gone with Layla, but they don't go off of like the most sentimental at this point. They go off of big names that they could trot out there for more ticket sales. Whatever. His second question, do you see the second WWE Evolution happening this year? I do. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been enough indicators that would suggest that we are getting that at some point this year. I feel like it should be good. They're also teasing it now with all the women from NXT appearing on Raw. And, I mean, there's no pay-per-view announced so far for July. They announced Money in the Bank for June, SummerSlam for August, Clash in Paris in late August. No pay-per-view in July, which has got to be Evolution 2, which was the initial rumored date for early July here in Connecticut. So hopefully that still happens. But yes, I do see it happening this year. With all the talk of it happening this year, I think it's going to happen. His third question, if AJ Styles does return to TNA, besides him making it clear that he won't reprise Get Ready to Fly, boo, definitely bring back the song once. I don't care what he wants. Anyway, he said, who do you see him facing for one more match, Mike Santana or Leon Slater? I don't know why you just limited it to just those two. I mean, at one point I would have said Josh Alexander. Josh has said his dream match was with AJ Styles. But, Josh went to AEW, so that's probably not happening unless AJ Styles also goes to AEW. And Josh was also the heart and soul of that company for so long. Before he left, he was there for so many years. Of those two, I'd go Mike Santana. Mike Santana's the star in the rise. I feel like AJ and like Joe Hendry would be kind of random. That doesn't really mesh well for me, brother. But if you wanted to do like a one more time type thing, him and Frankie Kazarian. I mean, ideally him and Christopher Daniels, but Daniels is in AEW, so that's not happening. But like one more match with him and Kazarian would be cool. But for like a fresh face, it would probably be Santana. Joe Hendry's more of like a joke guy, so I mean that would be fine. Anything with AJ in it, I'm watching, but I feel like Mike Santana might be the better opponent. Leon Slater would be great. He's one of their newer people. He was in Ultimate X this weekend. I could see him facing Moose because Moose is like a pro, he's been pro TNA for the last fucking decade. And Moose has always been there. So I could see Moose being like an opponent for AJ, and that would be a good match. Of the two, I'd go Santana. Santana's a star on the rise. He's awesome. Him and Mustafa Ali would also be great. But didn't we already see AJ and Mustafa Ali on Raw at some point? We definitely did. We had to have. Let me look it up. I'm sure we fucking saw at some point AJ Styles. I know we had a triple threat with them, but did they ever have a singles match? They had to have. They had a tag team match. They had a four-way. I don't think they ever had a singles match. Yeah, I don't think we ever saw AJ Styles and Mustafa Ali one-on-one. That would be another one, though. That would be a good match. But anyway, of those two, probably Santana. Last question here of the scheduled questions. At @millennial_noob from Twitter. He's obviously here in the chat. If the match between Natty Neidhart and Kenzie Page at the Crockett Cup is successful, will there be a potential partnership? Because the direction of the current NWA has been messy and embarrassing. I mean, that's been the case for the NWA for years now. I mean, I watch the product now, and honestly, I will say this. Their usage of like cinematics and stuff lately has been actually very, very good. I don't know what happened, where they came into this newfound money or whatever, but like the increase of like their production value as of late has been noticeable, and it's definitely made those shows better. Like they've focused more on stories. I mean, NWA Power is far from must-see programming, but I've been following it since it started in 2019, so I just watch the show now until it's over. I'm going to watch and review every episode. But like it's been better now recently than it was even like a year ago. I will say that. I just don't really see if they work with the NWA as a partnership. I say, what do they really gain from it? But at the same time, they bought AAA, so it's like they might just want to fucking buy the NWA at this point. Maybe just for the library, the video library, I could see that because there's a lot of video library going back almost 100 years. So, yeah, I could see. I mean, if Natty Neidhart, honestly, I would put the NWA Women's World Championship on her. Kenzie Page has been champion now for almost 2 years, which has been great. But Natty winning that belt and being the NWA Women's Champion for a little bit, that'd be fucking cool. So honestly, I'd be all on board with that. A potential partnership between the two sides, like beyond that, I'm not sure. Again, talent exchange, like who the fuck from, like at least with TNA and AAA, there's some people there in those companies that WWE can use on their shows. In NWA, who the fuck is an NWA that WWE would want at this point in time? Like not 5 years ago, I'm talking today. The answer is nobody. They already have feeder after feeder after feeder system between TNA, AAA, Evolve, NXT. They don't need another developmental in NWA. So if they work together, it would be cool. It would be another place for their lower level talent to work. But I think they'd only really be in it for like the potential video library. Nothing really else beyond that. And that's it for the scheduled questions. We'll pull back up the chat here as we wind down. Which movie do you think will get filmed first? Blade or the Batman 2? Definitely the Batman 2. I've heard, rumors that it could be canceled, but that first one was so successful. How the fuck did they not make a second one? Definitely the Batman 2. I know it's been delayed a lot, but like Blade has been delayed so much, there is zero indication they are ever making that movie. So totally Batman 2. Dream match, Lay Cool versus the Beautiful People. I don't know if it's a dream match. I mean, that sounds like the match. As a match, it'd probably be awful, but like as a feud, yeah. I mean, they were around at the same time. The Beautiful People. I mean, I think Lay Cool was definitely, you cannot convince me otherwise. Them, WWE doing Lay Cool was WWE's answer to the Beautiful People, who were very over and a very popular act in TNA for the last, for like from 07, 08 through like 2011, 2012. So for sure, I feel like that would have been a logical match to do. Johnny also asked, how do you feel about the new members of the Don Callis family? I think the Don Callis family has turned into a very good group. They have what now, 8 fucking members? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. To add back in Trent Beretta is fine because he was already in the group last year. I like Trent Beretta, that's fine. Rocky Romero, though, who gives a fuck? Why the fuck is Rocky Romero in there? And it's not like, oh, you need job guys. Dude, they have Lance Archer in there. I mean, Lance Archer and Brian Cage are members. Brian Cage is hurt, but they have like Brian Cage, Lance Archer, Beretta, Rocky Romero, Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander joined, and Takeshita. There might be someone else I'm not thinking of, but that's at least 7 people, not even including Don Callis, who obviously doesn't wrestle, but that's a lot of people. I feel like the jobbers might outweigh the actual stars in Fletcher and Takeshita. Josh is great, though. I know Mike is not a Josh fan. There's a few people that don't like Josh, and that's totally fine. I think Josh being in that group is perfect. I would take fucking Rocky Romero out of there. That's a complete waste. Mark Davis was in there at one point. That's another member. He got hurt. He was a complete waste of a fucking member to begin with. I would dwindle the group down to just maybe like 4 or 5 people. 8 is a little excessive. But I think overall the group is very good. They have a lot of good people in that group. Fernando asked, do you think the Triple H and Rock conflict can affect business for the long term? Yes, it absolutely can, and it will, because if they can't agree on certain finishes and they're kind of burying each other subtly in interviews and shit, it's going to equate to a bad product, because we talk about, oh yeah, which guy's getting fucked over here? The fans are. We got fucked over with that terrible finish at WrestleMania that Triple H booked. But like if Rock never inserted himself at Elimination Chamber, we would not have gotten to that point. Maybe they would have done what they did anyway, but it would have been a little bit better knowing that Rock should not have been involved. Like we were all expecting him and then he didn't show up. It was garbage. So yes, I do think it's already affected business, not in a major way where it's been noticeable, but fans will lose faith in the product if Rock inserts himself and there's no follow-up, and it reflects poorly on Triple H because he's the one primarily in creative control. Fernando also asked, if you were in charge of AEW, what 3 major changes would you make? I have no idea. Like, questions like this are so difficult. I would just focus more on the stories, honestly. Like, I would also do a roster cleanse. Like, I would take a deep look at the roster and say, do we really need fucking Aria Daivari on our show, or Tony Nese and people like that? Fucking Griff Garrison. Why the fuck are these people on our payroll? You know what I mean? Like, they're not even doing shit with them. So I would do a roster cleanse. I would run smaller buildings, but they've already started doing that as of late. And just tell more stories. I mean, they have good stories. I'm not saying they don't have any stories. But where are your priorities? The Death Riders? Get rid of the fucking Death Riders. The Young Bucks? Get them off the show. They serve no purpose at this point. Focus on people that people really want to see. Paige, Swerve, Fletcher, a star like him, the women's division. They have a great women's division. They're doing a lot of things right. They have gotten better recently, but also lessen the pay-per-view times. The pay-per-views are way too fucking long. Way, way, way too long. Either do less of them or make them shorter. Johnny said the Hardy Boys versus Rob Van Dam and Sabu in a hardcore match would have been amazing. In their primes, that would have been fun. Fernando said, which one of the returns do you think will be more successful between Rusev or Aleister Black? I'm going to go Aleister Black just because I feel like he already has an advantage with the theme song and the entrance. Rusev kind of has to be built back up. He is already over from the time that he was in WWE previously, but he's not a babyface. Like, he's doing the heel shit, which is great. I think as the Redeemer, he could be good, but are they making him the Redeemer? Or is he just going to be a boring, like, mid-card guy that just dominates people and has no real direction? I'm not really sure. Black, I feel like, is a higher ceiling if they really utilize him correctly. Rusev could end up being more successful, but I think Black could be more successful based on the entrance alone. That reaction on SmackDown was a lot louder than Rusev's, and Rusev had a big pop. The Aleister Black one was great. The Aleister Black pop was awesome because he has the old music back, and people were fucking psyched about it. So I'm going to go Black, but I could see Rusev also doing just as well, if not better. Noob said Natalia Markova would be interesting to see if there's a talent exchange between WWE and NWA. I would like to see her mix it up with some of the main roster women. I would be surprised. I mean, I'm kind of surprised she's not already in WWE. She's the type of female I could see WWE scooping up immediately and putting in NXT. She seems like a much better version from what I've seen of Natalia in recent years, a much better version of what WWE NXT wanted. What's her name? Oh my God. Nikita Lyons to be. And not even because the similar names, but like just the build and kind of like, I don't know, Natalia Markova is much better than she is. So, yeah. And maybe at some point, Natalia Markova could still end up in WWE at some point. We'll see. Maria said, who retires first, CM Punk or Roman Reigns? Who retires first? Like full time? Roman. Roman even said recently, oh yeah, when my contract comes up, I might not be resigning. So, I mean, Punk's closer to the end of his run, period. Roman, if he comes back for one shots, like from full-time competition, probably Roman Reigns, because it seems like Punk wants to be here. If he's going to be here, he's going to like be here, which is great. But like logically, like who's going to have their last match first? Probably Roman Reigns. Or I'm sorry, probably CM Punk. CM Punk's older. He's much closer to the end of his run. I could see Roman coming back for one shots even 5-10 years down the road. Punk will definitely be done by then, I think. Micah says, do you think Cena would still be retiring if Vince was still in charge? Yes, I think Cena, he was adamant about that regardless. I don't think, I know he does whatever the company wants him to do, but like even when Vince was in charge, Cena barely came around anyway, like he was barely here. And Vince probably wouldn't have been able to pass up the whole, retirement tour, that's a great idea to make money, pal. So I think Cena would have retired regardless. Micah, what's going on, my man? Great to see you in the chat, but we are winding down here, but thank you for the question regardless. Johnny said, benching wrestlers until their contract is up is something AEW has to change. Sure, but I mean, at the same time, WWE has done that too. They don't do that with everybody, but they have done it with a lot of people. Black, Starks, Miro, Lucha Bros. That is another thing I would like to change as well. I would like to see different. Swerve said, I want to see Mark Briscoe get more of a push. Hey, Mark Briscoe's great. We talked about this over Mania Weekend. Mark Briscoe I like a lot. He's very over. He did beat Ricochet in last week's Dynamite. So the guy's the ultimate stepping stone. Mark Briscoe never really wins when it matters most. He's in like every fucking tournament this company does, but he never really wins anything of actual importance. I know he was Ring of Honor World Champion, but I'm talking about in AEW. But I feel like he could, be a great TNT champion. Again, he's over enough, and he's good enough in the ring where I feel like as a world champion, no. But like as a mid-card champion in AEW, they have so many of them, it could totally work. Fernando said, how much legs do you think the Heyman faction has in the long run? I think it has a lot of potential if they book it properly. Maybe add one more person. I mean, the bloodline was around for fucking 5 years. So if the bloodline could be around for that long and the Judgment Day's been around for like 4 years, 4 years, I could see the Heyman faction being around for a long time. Long time. They could replace certain people. The Heyman faction hopefully does not go the way of him, Ryback, and Curtis Axel from 2013. That was a failure. But if you book it properly, this faction could be around for a while. Fernando said, who should retire Cena? Cena's going to be champion, then probably Cody. Cody, I could see him beating Cena in his last match. I would probably have Cody beat him for the belt before then, though. I feel like it would be more obvious that Cody's taking the belt back if that was his last match. Cena's last match, if he's facing Orton now, it's either with a new person or Punk. It probably will be Cody. The answer at this point is probably Cody. Mike has said Mark Briscoe's a jobber. I mean, he is, but at the same time, he beat fucking Ricochet, so he's also over. He's over. He beat Ricochet last week, which Ricochet's been protected largely as of late, so it does mean something. And, for the AEW audience, they like him a lot. So he's not a jobber in the same way that, he's won more matches than, let's say, like a fucking Griff Garrison does. He's a jobber. If you want to go jobber, he's a jobber. And Mike has said, what do you think of Seth Rollins calling the group The Vision? They might get a cease and desist from Marvel, but beyond that, I could see it. I mean, I've said before, I think when they first called The Shield, I thought that was dumb, among other group names that they came up with. And we were thinking, oh, yeah, that was stupid. The Vision is fine. I don't hate it. They've come up with much dumber names. I didn't even like Judgment Day. I thought, the Saints of whatever, the Grand Jury, I think was a name rumored for the Edge faction years ago. I liked that one a lot. Or the Saints of Hell or whatever. Judgment Day I didn't love, especially because it was already a fucking pay-per-view name, but The Vision is fine. They have to just get rid of the fucking Vision theme song that he has. He's not a babyface. I'll talk more about that on WrestleRant Radio on Thursday with Mr. Marceau. That fucking pissed me off. Not even the fact that he came out to the same song, because it's like, maybe he'll change it in due time. I get it. But at the same time, though, it's like, bro, you can't be out there doing the whoa, like he's getting cheered. Or do you want to be a fucking heel? Like, there's no grades of shade, no shades of gray bullshit. Like, be a heel. The theme song is one thing. We can get that hopefully at some point soon. Hopefully he can change that. But it encourages people to chant and dance, and he's a babyface. You're not a fucking babyface. You beat Sami Zayn up at the end of last night's show. They're heels. Embrace it. They got to change the theme song. Hopefully soon, though. Grunt said it would be cool if they reuse the Dangerous Alliance name. I agree. I think that's a perfect name. People are already calling it that anyway. And the cool thing is about the Dangerous Alliance, first of all, this is the closest thing that we have seen to a Heyman Dangerous Alliance ever in WWE. I know he managed Ryback and Curtis Axel at the same time, but, I mean, was that really the Dangerous Alliance? That shit sucked. When was the last actual Dangerous Alliance? In ECW back in the 90s? He did it in a few different promotions. WCW, ECW. Do it in WWE, officially. Call it the Dangerous Alliance. And they're all big on, what's old is new again type stuff. So I could totally see them doing that. But speaking of WrestleRant Radio, we will be live on Thursday for that show with Mr. Marceau. He is in Disney World right now enjoying himself, so wish Mr. Marceau well, but he should be back by Thursday here on the show, talking about, everything new in the world of wrestling and whatnot with myself. So we'll be live on Thursday. What time? Not sure. To be determined. Keep an eye out on that. But I might be live before then tomorrow for #GSM for GM Season 4. Right? Season 4, yes. Episode 5. Might pre-record it, but there's a decent chance I'll go live with it for tomorrow. We have the Clash of the Castle pay-per-view in the game in WWE 2K25 GM mode. So keep an eye out for that. We might go live for a little bit tomorrow afternoon. And, as I mentioned at the start of the show, do want to mention one more time, there's still a lot more content I have to get to and review and put up here on the channel. A lot of videos I still have to film. Coming soon, no particular date, but everything should be back to normal, hopefully within the next week or two, I promise. The days that we do #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio won't change again, thankfully. But, the days that I put up certain stuff, like the excerpts, I know I've been putting up stuff late in recent days. It's just been incredibly fucking busy and stressful, so bear with me. But I still have to review the WrestleMania 9 Becoming a Spectacle doc. I've watched it. Very good documentary. I'll talk about it in a video soon here on the channel. All the Dark Side of the Ring reviews, I have not, finished with those. I'm not, done doing them. I will continue doing them. Just have to watch the rest of the episodes, review them here for the channel. That should be up soon. Those should be up soon. And also WrestleRant Ranks. Did not have one up yesterday, but I will film a new one and put it up hopefully at some point in the next couple days. Hopefully a new installment is up this week. A lot like last week went up on Friday. It will be up on Mondays permanently in the future, but for this week, it's just been a crazy week. So in the last couple of weeks, really. Hopefully it should be back up soon in the next few days. So That's all on that front as far as the programming stuff goes. Micah also said maybe they'll debut new music at Backlash. That's what I was thinking. And do you see Jeff Cobb or Tamaloa or Tamatola, the tall Samoan, joining WWE? You talking about the guy that was rumored to have signed last year? Jeff Cobb I could see coming in. Joining the group, I don't know. You talking about Hikuleo? I know Tamatala was the name that was rumored that he would have, but we have yet to see him. I think he's already in the company. They just haven't had a plan for him. I could see him. He's already in WWE from what I understand. Grunt said he did manage Team Angle and Team Big Show, or Team Angle and Big Show at the same time in early 03. Oh, okay. So he didn't call it the Dangerous Alliance, but that was probably the closest thing that we got to it. Okay, I forgot about that. Oh, and Micah corrected himself. He meant not joining WWE, but joining Seth Rollins' group. Cobb, maybe. They already kind of have like a enforcer type and breaker, so maybe not. They're kind of too similar in that respect. Tamatala or Hikuleo, if that's who you're talking about, definitely not. I mean, he would just stick out like a sore thumb. I wouldn't be opposed to it. He seems good from what I've seen in other companies, but they missed their boat to put him in the bloodline, the new bloodline, and then they just didn't do it, and that group's kind of over at this point. So, no. Definitely no in Hikuleo. Cobb, maybe. I just don't know if it would work because they already kind of have a similar type of presence in Breaker already in the group. So that's going to do it, guys. If you want to send in a question to the show for next week's episode, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Shout out to the channel members: Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon and DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1, who was here earlier. He is at Swerve1, W-O-N, on Instagram. Daniel Malcolm, he's on the Twitter machine at I'm Quarter, letter I, letter M, Quarter on X. RJ Marceau, mentioned him earlier, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine. John Ritland here on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland, and Richie's channel. Check him out at Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube. Thank you, Grunt, for joining us. Thank you, Micah and Fernando, Swerve, Johnny, Alexis, Maria, Millennial, and everyone else that's been here over the course of the last hour plus. Nathaniel, Grunt, I mentioned earlier, D Professor, JC Dub joining earlier. Everyone that's been joining for the last, how long have we been live for? Hour and a half? A little bit less than usual, which is good. I don't want these shows to be fucking 3 hours. I do have to get going here shortly. But yeah. That's about it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the show. I appreciate it so much. If you want to shout out at the beginning and end of every live stream that we do, you can earn access to that by becoming a channel member and unlocking the WrestleRant All Access Pass. You get shout outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that I do here on the channel. Top billing on hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio for a topic that you want us to discuss on WrestleRant Radio. Or if you have a question here for hashtag, I'll answer it first before anyone else's. If you send in your question on, whatever avenue. I'll just know that you're a channel member if you let me know that you're a channel member. You also get members-only live streams. We'll be doing one again soon. Discord access also very soon. Badges and emojis and the live chats. Early and ad-free access to certain videos before they go live for everyone else, and so much more. So you can learn more about that in the description box. You can hit the join button at the top of this video if you're watching on PC, or just, like I said, go to the description box on this video, click the WrestleRant All Access Pass info link, and you can learn more about it. It's only $5 a month. Help support the channel. Would appreciate it so much. But even just liking this video, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time we upload new content. With all that being said, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Manny Fresh, you're coming in right at the tail end here. He said, I could see Liv Morgan versus as Majak from X-Men. I said earlier, I don't know who, Magic you're talking about? Isn't that the character that was in the New Mutants movie? I forgot her name, but she was in Split. The actress's name escapes me off the top of my head. That's who you're talking about? That would be cool. I said earlier, they're filming Doomsday now, so if Liv Morgan's going to be in Doomsday, that's pretty fucking cool. Not convinced that's going to be the case, but that would be pretty sweet. Anyway, folks, have an awesome one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.